Hello, I am Rini Simon Khanna, and you are tuned in to the YouTube channel of Quill Club Writers, a publishing house that turns school children into authors of published fiction. This is a story called Daddy Meano. Its author, Mimansha Mishra, was only 13 when she wrote the story about a young man in love and an old man he has to impress. Daddy Meano is part of Sundial, a book of short stories published in 2019 and again in 2020. Waiting at the Varanasi railway station, Rishabh went into a flashback, thinking of how Alisha, his childhood friend, had to leave town because of her father's transfer. Alisha's father, Ajmer Singh, was a senior manager in a five-star hotel chain and had been transferred as general manager of a hotel in Delhi. Rishabh didn't want Alisha to leave, but she had to go. And now, 12 years since Alisha had left, her father was coming to Rishabh's place. It was, after all, Rishabh's sister's wedding, and their families were friends. Rishabh was actually hoping to convince the father to let him marry Alisha. He had made great plans to impress the hard-to-impress Ajmer Singh. Eventually, the train chugged noisily into the station. Rishabh edged closer to the platform, waiting. The old man emerged from a compartment, and as soon as his eyes fell on Rishabh, he handed over all his luggage to him without even a smile or a hello. Ajmer Singh told the boy to take him home where the function was to be held. Rishabh was disappointed, but he took the man home. What could he do? At home, the boy offered the man a chair. Ajmer grabbed the chair, sat with his legs folded, and started giving orders to Rishabh. First he told the boy to bring tea, then something to eat, then to ensure that there was running hot water in his bathroom, and so on. The boy followed the old man's orders quietly, in spite of his tone of voice, cold and unconcerned. At night, when Rishabh went to the man's room, he was reading a book. When Ajmer heard someone coming in, he looked up through his glasses, but when he saw Rishabh, he simply went back to his reading, completely ignoring Rishabh. The boy sat down at the edge of the bed. The man gave him an annoyed look. Rishabh stood up. The man closed the book and removed his glasses as if preparing to sleep. "How are you, uncle?" asked Rishabh when he judged that they had had enough silence. "How do you think I am?" shot the old man back. "No, I mean, are you enjoying the function?" "Yes," said the old man. "Why didn't Alisha come with you?" "I want to sleep. It's quite late," answered old. "I want to sleep. It's quite late," answered the old man. "Okay, uncle, good night. See you tomorrow at the function." Rishabh left the room. He wanted to talk about Alisha, but it wasn't possible. At 8:30 the next morning, Rishabh jumped out of bed, dressed up quickly and got ready for another busy day, but suddenly changed his mind and sat down on his desk to write a letter. "Dear Alisha, how are you? I've been longing to tell you that your father arrived here, and I've been taking good care of him. But I just don't know why he's being so mean to me. I'm doing my best to convince him to let us both get married, but whenever I try to talk to him about you, he either ignores me completely or simply changes the topic. But I won't give up. I will convince him. Write to me soon. Rishabh." Sealing the letter in an envelope and sticking a few brand new stamps on it, Rishabh dropped the envelope into the nearest letterbox. On returning, he found the man roaming in the backyard, murmuring. Rishabh approached him cautiously and asked him what the problem was, why he was roaming like that when everyone else was inside the house. Ajmer Singh said he wanted a yellow kurta because everyone inside was wearing a yellow outfit and that he didn't want to be the odd one out. "But today is Sunday, and all the shops are closed. Otherwise, I would have bought it for you," said Rishabh. "Stop making excuses, young man. Get to work, now," said the man rudely. Rishabh was perplexed, but if he did not do what the old man wanted, he could create hurdles in his marriage to Alisha. Defeated, he asked the old man for his size and went running to an old friend who owned a garment store in town. The friend grumbled a lot but obliged. An hour later, Rishabh was back home with a yellow kurta pajama for the old man and found him sitting with some other guests and talking. Nearly out of breath, Rishabh told the man that he had got the kurta for him with great difficulty. Rolling up his eyes, the man said, "I have one. Found it in my suitcase. Job done. But I don't want to wear it anymore." "And you didn't feel like telling me about it, right?" said Rishabh in his mind, but only smiled sheepishly at the old man. He was fed up of the ill treatment, but took it all for the sake of Alisha. Every day there was a moment when he felt that he had had enough. But then Alisha's face would appear before his eyes and he would swallow his pride all over again. That night too, he was about to go into the old man's room when he heard a voice different from the man's voice. So he got curious and started listening to the conversation. "Rishabh is a hard-working and obedient boy. You won't find anyone like him," said the person who was talking to Ajmer Singh in the room. "Yes, I agree," said Ajmer Singh. Rishabh felt on top of the world. It was the first time he had heard the man saying anything good about him. That night, he slept soundly, dreaming of a happy life ever after. Next day was the wedding day. Rishabh spotted Ajmer Singh sitting in a corner and was about to say something when the man stood up and left. Rishabh found it strange, rude, and inexplicable, particularly in the light of the conversation he had overheard the night before. The evening was so busy that Rishabh forgot all about everything else, whether it was Ajmer or Alisha. The wedding occupied him completely. The next morning, when everyone was tired and sleepy after a whole night of ceremonies, Rishabh took a seat next to Ajmer Singh and asked him how he felt about coming to Varanasi after 12 years. This time, the man seemed interested in talking. When Rishabh noticed that the man was in a good mood, he finally asked him about Alisha. Once again, the man stood up and went away. Rishabh stared at the receding back of the man. He felt angry, insulted, and utterly confused. Soon it was the time for guests to leave. Rishabh was somewhere happy that now he would not have to follow the old man's orders, but he was also disappointed that he hadn't been able to talk about Alisha at all. Before leaving, Ajmer called Rishabh and told him he was really very impressed with all his hard work and hospitality. Rishabh couldn't believe his ears. The man who had systematically ignored and insulted him was now suddenly praising him. Rishabh was happy that his efforts hadn't gone to waste. "Have you seen my daughter?" asked the man. "Yes, of course," replied Rishabh, his hopes rising. A fresh surge of excitement coursed through his veins. He started imagining what the man would say next. "It has to be about our marriage," said Rishabh to himself. Then the man said, "You're really hard-working and sincere. My daughter is getting married next month. Why don't you come to our place and help us with the preparations?" Rishabh was crestfallen. He thought that the old man was joking. Just then the postman arrived and handed Rishabh a letter. Tipping the postman well, Rishabh excitedly stepped aside and opened the envelope, hoping to find a love letter from Alisha. The envelope was indeed from Alisha, but it contained an invitation to her wedding. Naturally, to someone else. Double whammy. He was still reeling under the shock when the old man asked to be driven to the station. As usual, Rishabh had no other option but to do as told. An hour later, they were at the station. Rishabh went to a tea stall to wait it out. It was a day of bigger and bigger surprises. The tea stall owner, Panditji, knew Rishabh well. In fact, he had had the contract for serving tea and snacks to the guests at Rishabh's sister's wedding. Panditji said, I know that you are interested in the old man's daughter. I heard him say this to someone yesterday." Shocked, Rishabh said, "What are you saying?" "It's true. He just used you," said Panditji. They were interrupted by the train's whistle. Rishabh helped Ajmer Singh get into the train. Finally, Rishabh left the station enormously relieved. He thought, if the father was like that, then how mean would the girl be? All his stress turned into happiness and his life was back on track.